With Michael Kopech shining bright as ever, is he finally becoming a star? Will Mike Soroka make his highly anticipated debut next week? Join us for a gripping episode as we provide you with must-add players on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here as always with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane.
Yo, let's get this party rocking today.
You can find us on all social media platforms and podcasting apps. If you're listening on one like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. It goes a long way to help the podcast. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes you to the podcast and the channel, gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And once again, if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to like and comment because we love to talk fantasy baseball with you. Locked On Fantasy Baseball fans, we have a fully loaded episode for you today. Let us be your team secret weapon, as always, as we provide you with the best must-add waiver wire players heading into the weekend. And Matt, boy, do we have a few. Who are we going with first?
Yes, sir. Let's talk about somebody that just got called up and lit up the Atlanta Braves, and that's Mr. Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller showed out, and I really enjoyed what he did in his first start. And honestly, I did not see it coming just based off of how he was performing in the minors this year. But hey, he came out and did his thing in 5 innings. He had 5 strikeouts. He only had a 1.18 ERA, which is really nice, and a 1 WHIP. That's phenomenal. You know, this comes on the back of a terrible 2023 season through 14 innings. He has a 5.65 ERA. You know, I really didn't think that was really Bobby Miller himself. He's a much better prospect than that, and he came up to the bigs and showed it. So Bobby Miller right now is, for me at least, the must-add. You know, he has all the talent in the world. You know, I really like to see where this kid's career is going to go just because I really do like Bobby Miller. So definitely run to the waiver wire and add him. He is only 39% owned. Let's try and get that up, guys, because quite honestly, he could be, not saying he will be, but he could be somebody that has a little bit longer than a couple weeks value. He could be rest of season value. So let's get on him now and early so we don't miss out on the Bobby Miller show.
Yeah, I was super disappointed in most of my leagues when Bobby Miller was long gone by the time I went looking for him. So definitely a must-add for Bobby Miller. In that start against the Braves, he was averaging 99 miles an hour on that fastball. So, you know, that looks pretty good. And ironically, they were hitting his fastball pretty hard. But you know what? The breaking stuff looked good, too. And that's what you want to see, because when you're throwing that hard, you're just going to generate swings and misses. And if the breaking stuff is complementing the fastball, you'll love to see that. With Bobby Miller, though, as Matt mentioned, not having a great year in the minors this year or last year, but the control was good both of those years. This year in the minors, the whip was a 1.18. The year before, it was a 1.17, even with an inflated ERA. Kind of reminds me of Bryce Miller. Ironically, the Miller brothers here, you know, they're not brothers, just calling them the Miller brothers. The thing with them is that they both had big ERAs, you know, like bad big ERAs heading into their major league debuts, came out and dominated. Bryce Miller still out there getting it done. So I don't see why Bobby Miller can't follow the same suit. And there was actually a quote from Bryce Miller that I saw. They asked him about, hey, you know, you're out here dominating in the majors right now after you got the call. What happened in the minors? He told the reporters that he was specifically told by the Mariners just to work on his fastball, not really his breaking stuff. So he was just throwing mainly fastballs, and when you see that on the scouting report, it's easy to time him up if he's not really throwing his breaking ball that much. So maybe there's been something going on in the minor leagues with these pitchers, these young pitchers, they're having them work on their fastball command. So maybe that's what we're seeing here. I can't really confirm it. Can confirm it with Bryce Miller, not with Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller's got all the talent in the world, though. As Matt said, 39% owned on Yahoo. The Dodgers have always been good with pitchers, so definitely somebody you want to go out there and add. But let's talk about somebody I might even be more excited about. I know Matt's excited about him, and it's our boy, Michael Kopech. The thing with Kopech is Matt and I were touting him so hard in the offseason. I know Matt even had a bold prediction about Kopech, and it looks like it might actually still come true because Kopech has been out there dominating, especially his last 2 starts. I know the opponents weren't the greatest opponents. Against Kansas City on May 19th, Kopech went 8 innings, got the win, 10 strikeouts, no earned runs, and an 0.13 whip. In his last start on the 24th against the Guardians, Kopech 7 innings, the win, 9 strikeouts, no earned runs, 0.43 whip. Man, this kid is just so talented. He throws really hard. The breaking stuff is pretty good for Kopech as well. I'm not sure what the problem was, this season. Maybe just building up into that, starter's workload. Coming off that knee issue from last year, that could have been it. But somebody that has been has high expectations on him his whole career, was a very, very high end prospect. He's he's a big boy at 6'3", 210, throws very, very hard like Bobby Miller. Gets up there, touches 100 on occasion. Had a very, very good year last year. Don't let it fool you. 3.54 ERA last year for Kopech, 119 innings, 105 Ks, a 1.19 whip. Very, very serviceable. Kopech's only 27 years old. There's a lot of time left for Kopech to be great. And 41% owned on Yahoo. I think Kopech is my favorite starting pitcher that we're going to talk about today. I think he's a must add.
Yeah, I mean, Kopech can come out there and light you up for 7 to 10 Ks with ease. The kid's got the stuff. He's got the juice. So
yeah,
I really am a big fan. I would love to see my bold prediction come to fruition, but unfortunately, I dropped them everywhere, so I'm rooting against them. So but anyway, no, definitely go scoop up Kopech if you can. Let's move on here. Let's talk about another one of my favorite guys. I guess this is Dom. You just kind of went in a bag of people I liked because now we're going to talk about Mr. Mike Soroka. I think we're finally going to get him after I've been praying on my knees of when Mike Soroka was going to get the call. Because, again, let's just give a brief history. My man blew out his Achilles twice, not once, but twice. And I've never seen somebody do that twice. And me watching any professional sport, it's really tragic. And to see him work his way back and finally start looking like himself, because the start of his minor league career this season was just not hot. But he seems to have turned it up, because at one point his ERA was a 6. Now it's all the way down to a 4.33. And he's got a 1.34 whip. So it seems like he's trying to find himself right now. And I think he might line up for Monday's start against Oakland, which is another layup start for him. Nice confident booster. So Mike Soroka could be in line to just keep that rotation spot because there's so many injuries, and then just keep going through the season. I think that was their plan ultimately along the line. Once he gets the call, he has the rotation spot. So Mike Soroka could have a lot of long-term value. And on top of that, in keeper leagues, he's somebody I'm definitely eyeing, and Dynasty I'm trying to trade for before anything happens. So definitely keep an eye on Mike Soroka.
Yeah, Matt, great coverage on Soroka there. Somebody that that's Matt's boy, but I like him as well. I got the Braves jersey on today. It's not a Soroka, it's a Spencer Strider, but you know what? Soroka does have all the talent in the world. He's still only 25 years old. We may be getting a little bit fatigued with Mike Soroka with all of the injuries that he's had over these. Matt, what was the other injury? I know he had the Achilles twice, but did he make something else in there? I forget what it was. He mixed another injury in there too when he was working his way back one year, and it's just finally good to see that Soroka's getting back to a place where he might be able to come back and help fantasy teams and the Atlanta Braves. I know Schuster's been looking actually decent over his last couple of starts. Definitely his last start was pretty good, but with Soroka, looks like he, like Matt said, the Oakland Athletics in his debut on Monday, possibly. If he does debut Monday, he'll get the Diamondbacks on June 4th, it looks like, which is another, not horrible matchup for a pitcher. Pretty good. I think Soroka has the chance to, win a good amount of games. He's right around a K per 9 type of guy, maybe a little bit under, in my opinion. Always been good with the control, always has had a solid whip in his career. So I think he can contribute in most of the pitching categories as far as starting pitchers go. So definitely go out there, give Mike Soroka an ad before he gets too owned. Right now, he is at 20% owned on Yahoo. I know I added him in a couple of leagues. I know Matt added him in a couple of leagues just on that speculative, thing that he might get the start Monday against Oakland, which is definitely a nice soft matchup, and it's in Oakland as well. So once again, we have a lot of good starting pitchers for you guys to add this week. But before we move on to talk about Brayan Bello, JP France, Paul Dejong, and a former number 1 pick, I won't reveal his name yet, who has actually been on fire. Just got a couple of ads for you, or actually one ad for you guys. Today's episode is sponsored by the clothing company Bird Dogs. Looking for clothes that redefine comfort and style? Look no further than Bird Dogs. They've crafted the perfect blend of performance and fashion to bring you shorts, pants, and tops that will revolutionize your wardrobe. With stretchy fabric that makes your legs look great, they're not only stylish, but also comfier than any other shorts or pants that you currently own. They give you the freedom to wear one pair of shorts or pants on the golf course, to a meeting, on a date, or even if you're just going to hang out with your friends. Bird Dogs just sent Matt and I some shorts, and we're absolutely obsessed with them. Guys, I keep saying this. I've gotten so many compliments on these shorts. I got my girlfriend's graduation from college tomorrow, and I'm probably going to rock a pair of these Bird Dog shorts and, just going to be nice and comfortable throughout the entire day in them. And if you guys want a pair, just go to birddogs.com/lockedonmlb. And when you enter the promo code lockedonmlb, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. Check out Bird Dogs today. And as always, we want to thank our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Be sure to be on the lookout for a new episode tomorrow when Matt and I provide you with pitch and ditch starting pitchers. So definitely something you're going to want to be, locked on for. We always provide you with great ones for the weekend if you want to get your pitching categories right. But Matt, that's about enough for me right now. Who do we got up next, brother?
All right. We got Mr. Brayan Bello. And he has the weird spelling for his name, but hey, it is what it is. I'm still rolling with it, Mr. Bello. He has had a nice little season so far, in spurts. He had a couple moments of genius and then a couple moments of failure, but I do like him as an ad for now. His last start against the Angels was great. 7 innings, 6 Ks, a 2.57 ERA with a .86 WHIP. It's real nice. And then goes out against Seattle as well the week before, and gets the W. Goes 5 innings, gets 7 Ks and a 1.80 ERA with a 1.6 WHIP, which is a little high for my taste. And then again, has another great start against Atlanta, 5 Ks, 3 ERA, and then Toronto again, 5 Ks, 3.6 ERA. Brayan Bello is turning out to be somebody that is doing his thing and is serviceable. Wouldn't say he's 100% matchup proof, but I'm also not afraid of rolling him out there against a tough matchup. So that's why I'm recommending to pick him up, because he can give you that start, especially when you're down in the pitching categories. You want somebody that you won't be fearful of rolling out when they have a tough matchup. So Brayan Bello could be that nice little spark to your lineup at 25% owned. I definitely say run to the waiver wire and scoop up Brayan Bello.
I will say this, man. I think it's Bello. I think it's spelled Bello, but I think it's pronounced Bello. Not 100% sure. But
best part is I had the song going too, and I had it right, and I'm reading Bello. My eyes deceive me.
Yeah, but it's funky because like if I was just to read it and I didn't know, I would say Bello. And I did say when he got the first call last year, I said Bello, and I got corrected on it too. But yeah. I think it is Bello. I will say this: if you take out his first 2 starts, and for a young 24-year-old, hey, by all means, your first full go around in the big leagues, you might have some nerves and stuff like that, especially when you're on the opening day roster for the first time, as Bello was. His last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 starts, the ERA looks pretty good in all those. The WHIP is still a little high, decent strikeouts in all those games. There were some good opponents, as Matt mentioned, Atlanta, Seattle, the Angels, but he's looked better. It looks like he's going to line up next week against Cincinnati at home in Boston. So that looks good. If you definitely want to give him the shot, he's 25% owned on Yahoo. Once again, Brayan Bello is who we're talking about here. Let's see, because it looks like he might line up for 2 starts next week. I'm going to see if I can give you his second opponent. The first one I said was Cincinnati. 1, 2, 3, 4. It might be Tampa. So you might want to throw him out there against Cincinnati. If he looks good and you need to start going into the weekend, you could start him against Tampa. But just add him for now, especially in those deeper leagues, those AL-only type leagues. And just see where things go with Mr. Brayan Bello. He does have a lot of talent. Real quick, I did want to check one. I wanted to just check his pitch mix real quick. Yeah, he sits around 97 with 96 with the fastball. The sinker's around 96 as well. I wish he would maybe, vary that up a little bit more. The slider is, pretty decent pitch for him. Changeup is all right. So he has a decent pitch mix, but I do like Bello. Bello is definitely somebody I see in the next couple of years, possibly taking that step forward to be a, very serviceable pitcher, not only for Boston, but for us fantasy baseball players as well. Next up, let's talk about JP France again. This guy still kind of out there getting it done. He came out of nowhere, and with the glasses, he's got the old man look going on. But I do like him, on the year, 3.43 ERA for France, 1.19 WHIP, 21 innings, 18 Ks. So he's not really a strikeout machine. He's more of a finesse type of pitcher. But on the Houston Astros, he's been super, super serviceable. He'll be able to rack up those wins on that team. I do just want to pull up something real quick on JP France before I pass it over to my brother Matt here. He's actually 28 years old, so he's a little bit older than I thought. Decent minor league track record over the last few years, a high 3 ERA, which is where I think he'll end up the year around. WHIP is a little bit high down in the minors, which it is, heading in that direction this year too. So JP France is more of a deep league play, in my opinion. He's 24% owned. Out of everybody we talked about today, he's probably my least favorite starting pitcher to add. So if everybody else we talked about today is gone, then you can go to JP France. But otherwise, I would say look in the direction of some of the other guys we talked about. Once again, hate to say it again, more of an AL only type of play, a deeper league, 15-man league type of play for JP France. But hey, he's still out there and he's been serviceable so far. So if he's out there and you need him, definitely feel free to add him. And I think his next start might be against Oakland or Minnesota. Minnesota's been pretty decent, but you know what? I think he can go out there and be successful against them.
Yeah, why not? I mean, if you need to start, you got to do what you got to do, right? And JP France isn't your worst option. Great take on him. But I'm going to move on here. I'm going to crack this bottle, crack it open, and we're going to talk about our first bat here, Mr. Paul Dejong. My guy is going through his brief moment of where he has a few weeks of genius. So this is a ride the wave kind of type guy, because one of two things going to happen. Either he's going to drop down to a 233 batting average since he's a 235 on his career. I'm going to say that he's going to flop back to reality eventually. He just came out hot off the injury. But I would ride the wave with him because he's killing it for this last month. 20 runs, 7 bombs, 17 ribs, 3 stolen bases, batting about 268 on the year, 291. That's tomfoolery. That's going to come down. But, the production right now you can't pass up on. So, in my opinion, he's probably about the number 2 or 3 bat that we're going to talk about. But he's the biggest name. That's why we're talking about him first, since he's the most, the commodity. Everybody knows the name. So Paul Dejong definitely needs to. And the way the shortstop landscape has been, I feel like he's somebody that's serviceable while you're waiting for guys to come back. So definitely take a look at Paul Dejong. He's only 31% owned. So, he's definitely worth an ad and ride the wave.
Matt, great take there on Dejong. I love what you said. If you have like a Correa or a Tim Anderson or a shortstop that just isn't getting it done, one of my favorite terms, and I always give credit where it's due. I stole this one from the great Tristan H. Cockroft. Juice the orange with Paul Dejong. Get everything you can out of him, and then hopefully by that time you've either found somebody else or your Correa or Tim Anderson has gotten it going, and you really don't need him anymore. Matt, great take. There's not too much I could add, except he's got a little bit of power in that bat. He's had a 30 home run season before. On the Cardinals, he could, give you a little bit of RBI opportunities. He looks like he's been hitting 5th or 6th, 7th in some occasions. They've actually had him all over the lineup. But with Dejong, he's not horrible, but not somebody I'm counting on for the long term. Let's move on to the former number 1 pick I was talking about, and it's Mickey Moniak. And, all the way back in 2016, he had a lot of hype around him. I believe, Matt, you were telling me he went over in the trade with Ohapi, right, for Brandon Marsh. Yes, and now he, now he's over there on the Angels, doing his thing so far this year, man. You got to give the kid credit where he's due. He's still only 25 years old, and he's a perfect example of one of these prospects that, you kind of get fatigued on, and you're like, oh, he's done. I'll move on from him. But you know what? Mickey Moniak says, I'm not done yet. Don't count me out yet. 10 games this year for Moniak, 31 at-bats, 7 runs, 13 hits overall, 2 doubles, one triple, 4 home runs, 7 RBIs, 2 steals, batting .419 on the year. Obviously, he's not going to bat .419 on the year, but you know what? He could hit you 270, 280. He's got a little tiny bit of pop. He's got a little bit of speed. I could see him being maybe a 15-15 guy with decent runs, decent RBIs, and giving you a solid batting average. Right now, Mr. Mickey Moniak is owned in, let's see if I can pull this up real quick, 20% of leagues on Yahoo, outfield eligible. Definitely think he's worth the ad right now because there's a lot of upside. There's a lot of buzz around his name. You could possibly package him in a trade, for something a little bit better, sell high on him because I don't know if he's going to keep this up, but, he has that pedigree of a former number 1 pick. So definitely someone you could look to, do things with. Once again, Mickey Moniak.
Yeah, I like how hot he is and whatnot, but what he did in his cup of coffee with Philly wasn't really encouraging, but I like the fact that he was able to bounce back and do what he's doing now. So, like Dom said, it may be a good time to move on. And before we do move on and talk about our next guy, which would be Matt Mervis, Elias Diaz, and Owen Miller, I have some great people to talk about here. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and help you lower your bills all in one place. Try it for free for 30 days, just enough time to try it and then completely forget about it. In fact, over 80% of people have subscriptions they forget about. You could be wasting money and not even realize it. Rocket Money helps you find those forgotten subscriptions so you can stop paying for ones you don't even use. So, do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions, but actually it's closer to $200, which is absolutely true. Mine is well above 200 without even realizing it. If you don't know exactly how much you're spending each and every month, you need Rocket Money. Rising prices stress you out. If you're looking to ways to cut costs, you need Rocket Money. Stop throwing your money away, cancel your unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. And once again, that's rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. All right. Whew, that was a lot. But I do want to talk about our next guy here. And I'm really excited about him, Mr. Matt Mervis. We've talked about him in one past episode, but I think that, after a little bit of him getting a little bit of the show and seeing what he could really do up here, my guy, I think, is about to turn a corner because he hasn't been, blow your socks off and, but he's passing the eye test. When you watch the kid at bat, he looks like he's a pro. He is doing what he's supposed to be doing. And you know what? He hit a bomb the other day and had a really nice game against the Mets. He had 2 runs, got a bomb, 3 ribs, and batted .667 against them. I really think he might turn a corner here. Matt Mervis, if you don't know who he is, let me refresh your memory here. In 2022, in the minors, he had 512 at-bats. He had 92 runs, 40 doubles, 2 triples, 36 bombs, 119 ribs, 2 stolen bases, and he bats .309. The kid has the upside to be a 4-category strong player. Now, I'm not saying he's going to go out and do this because I don't want to overplay my hand here and be like, hey, you must add this kid. But the thing about Matt Mervis is with the upside being there and being able to pick him up off the waiver wire for almost free $99 that you didn't have to waste a draft pick on. And now here we are, in the middle of, at the end of May almost, you want to take a look at this kid. He's only 15% owned, so he's available in these leagues. And I really do think you at least got to take the speculative ad and see where he goes for the next 2 weeks. And I have a feeling he might start taking off and he might start launching the ball for yard. And, Matt Mervis may be a household name in the next couple of months. So, definitely take a look at Matt Mervis at 15% owned.
Well, Matt, you took a great take with your namesake there, Mr. Matt Mervis, and I'm on board. I'm on the bandwagon. I'm on the train. I've been one of the conductors with Matt Mervis because I just love the kid. When he got called up, instant ad for me in a lot of leagues. He started off very slow, but let's say this: over his last 7 games, Matt Mervis has 23 at bats, 4 runs, 7 hits, 2 bombs, 4 RBIs, 2 walks to 5 strikeouts with a .304 batting average. So it looks like he's finally turning a corner here. Kind of reminds me of Vinny P from last year. Vinny P, baby, the Italian breakfast. I think Matt Mervis is going to follow right in Vinny P's footsteps as far as, hey, the league is beating up on me. I'm going to make that adjustment and do what I need to do. This big power in Matt Mervis's bat. Matt, I believe you mentioned 15% owned on Yahoo. So he's out there in pretty much every league right now. This is the time to grab him, especially in those deeper leagues where you're looking for a little bit of pop off the waiver wire and you're sitting there looking and you're scrolling and you're scrolling and scrolling like there's nothing here. You get down to Matt Mervis at 15% owned. Definitely worth an ad. Matt, as you mentioned, bro, Kid could be an all-star household name here by, the time the all-star break rolls around. That is Matt Mervis. Up next, though, we have a catcher for you guys. If you're struggling at catcher, I know there's been a few injuries at catcher. A lot of catchers haven't been playing as good as we thought they were going to. Let's talk about Elias Diaz of the Colorado Rockies. He's been actually very, very, very stellar this year. Wow, I didn't even realize it was this good. 42 games this year for Diaz, 139 at-bats, 18 runs, 10 doubles, 4 home runs, 24 RBIs, 13 walks to 26 strikeouts, which is a great strikeout to walk ratio. And he has a 345 batting average. I mean, if you have any concerns at your catcher position and you got a spot on your team that's open and you want to get some production, Diaz is getting up there and owned. He's 57% owned on Yahoo. But you know what? I feel like that should be closer to 70, 75, the way that, catcher has been this year. And Diaz has a bunch of multi-hit games out of his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He has 4 multi-hit games mixed in there. So you got to grab this guy now before, he really has the chance to take off. I mean, he's a little older at 32 years old, but I think the upside is there with him. Kind of a guy that, had some buzz around his name in past years. Once again, that's Elias Diaz, catcher for the Colorado Rockies.
Yep, I like it a lot. And I think I'm going to create a new rule here. My new rule is if there's a hot Rocky, you pick him up because
I like that.
The potential of what they could do in the home run department, especially as it's getting warmer with the humidity, it might start carrying that ball out even more over the over yard. And if Elias Diaz is hot, I want to take that hot and I want to ride that wave until I can and step on all those hot rocks until it's not. So, Elias Diaz definitely scoop up. But let's move on to our last guy. And Riley Green with a bomb. Love it. Thank you.
There we go. You got to listen to us, guys. We told you guys to add Riley Green. We've been telling you.
Yep. And so here we go. Mr. Owen Miller of the Milwaukee Brewers. He's only 19% owned. And quite honestly, he's had a hot 2 weeks with 8 runs, 3 bombs, 5 ribs, 2 stolen bases, batting .413. He's somebody you want to take a look at. He's a Swiss Army knife at first, second, and third. I lost Jazz Chisholm, so he was somebody I scooped up that was able to fit into the lineup and not kill me, and hopefully, keep my second base production afloat essentially so that I can, coast until he comes on back. So Owen Miller is definitely worth it. He has no real long-term play. Last year, his numbers were not impressive. I don't know if he's not really a long-term play for me, but short-term, ride the wave. Owen Miller.
Yeah, if you're looking for somebody to throw on your bench that, on days when guys sit, somebody gets hurt, you just need a plug and play real quick. Owen Miller could do that, as Matt mentioned. First, second, and third eligibility on Yahoo. In his minor league career, he always had a pretty solid batting average, but he never really did much else. Not really a lot of speed, not really a lot of power. That Brewers team has slowed down a little bit there, so, those counting stats might not be great. But hey, if like my brother Matt always says, if you could find that batting average off the waiver wire, it's always a solid move to make. Owen Miller's still only 26, so there is a chance that he's still maturing and growing as a player and a person. Not really a big dude at 5'11", 195. So as I said, not really a lot of pop in his game, but just grab that batting average off the waiver wire. And, see where things go with Owen Miller. Once again, as Matt said, 19% owned on Yahoo with Owen Miller. And he did have a good stretch with Cleveland last year for a little bit where he was really hot. So kind of just juice the orange here with Owen Miller. But with that being said, Matt, anything else to add before we head out today?
Nah, let's kill it.
All right, brother. So, guys, that is all for us today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Check out our website if you already haven't. And a huge shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And as I've been saying, if you're still here at this point in the podcast, probably means you're a fan of ours. And if you could share our podcast on YouTube, we're almost approaching 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we couldn't have done it without each and every one of you. And if you can continue to support and share the podcast with friends, it will truly, truly be an honor for you to do that. Huge thank you to all of you. But with that being said, look out for a new episode tomorrow where Matt and I provide you with pitch and ditch arms heading into the weekend, and maybe we'll give you a couple of 2-star pitchers for next week as well. But until then, folks,
peace.